right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go over the Unit 2 test remediation, which includes the most missed questions from our Unit 2 test. We're going to start off with questions 5 and 6, and these both come from the passage that dealt with the young lady who was doing an internship at a nursing home. She ends up experiencing a challenging patient, and she ends up kind of approaching him in a different way. And she decides to let him speak his mind. And whenever he kind of goes into a tangent, she just goes there with him and allows him to feel that. So just reminding you of that, what that passage was about. And the theme from this story, if we're looking at question 5, is that sometimes people are not always what they appear to be. And if we're focusing on the underlined area, not always what they appear to be, it's about appearances. So if we look at our options, which statement develops this theme? Well, A, Michelle wears a football jersey and jeans to her internship at the nursing home. This is actually the correct answer. It's talking about an appearance. That's not really who she is, though, even though she's wearing something that's very casual to a job position. She is very capable of her job. And so I provided an excerpt for you from the right to show you that for proof. Okay, if we take a look at B, Paul moved to Pennsylvania and grew up in Scranton. That's not revealing anything about appearances. And C, Paul brightens into a smile when Michelle enters the room. Well, that does say something about his appearance, but it's not related to not what they appear to be. He actually is very happy when she enters his room. Okay, so that is why A is correct for 5. Question 6. Which sentence develops the idea that Michelle is learning to understand how other people feel? And I underlined there what we're looking for is feelings. So if we take a look at our options, B is the only one that pertains to this because it's talking about still Michelle had been curious and she felt sorry that Paul had a bad reputation among the staff. Okay, and just to confirm, let's go ahead with process of elimination. A says, at first she wanted to intern at her dad's gas station, but her teacher told her she needed to branch out and signed Michelle up at Oak Court Nursing Home, only 15 minutes away from her house. That's not showing that she is learning about other people's feelings. C, so she decided that the next time she brought supplies to his room, instead of avoiding Paul, she would play along with whatever he said. Now, she is making that decision on how to approach him, but it's not really revealing that she's learning to understand her feelings. She's deciding to take a different action into approaching him. Okay, so hopefully that explains questions 5 and 6. Next, we're going to go into question 10 and 11. And questions 10 and 11 have to do with the passage that was talking about the fact that prices will vary from place to place. And that's because of the different taxes that are added on during production and that are passed on to the consumer. There was an example about in Germany and the value of a garden hose and how that taxes are added on, called value-added taxes, during each step of the production. And that's why I included an excerpt here on the right to show you where that came from. So that was a little bit of background on the passage. Now let's look at question 10. 10 says, which statement about value-added taxes best develops the central idea of this text? Well, I underlined for you what we're looking for, okay? It's about value-added taxes. So even if you didn't quite understand what that was, the excerpt in the passage should have helped you. If we take a look over at the passage, it says one of Germany's fiscal policies is to collect taxes in many stages during the production of items. This is called value-added tax. So again, I'm encouraging you to go back into the passage to make sure you understand what the question's asking. So if it is added on to the cost of an item, there is our answer for us. So how does this develop the central idea? And our central idea was actually provided for us in question 14. Where it says the author explains the consumer's willingness to pay a certain price for a given item affects how the retailer sets the price. So if you think about it, that makes the most sense for a business, because if they're saying, well, this person is willing to spend this kind of money and our business is going to profit from it, why not put that price tag, right? And so the whole passage is really focused on this fact that the consumer is, responsible for paying the price for an item, if they're willing to do that, if it's a high price and they're willing, those taxes can add up and get put onto that. So if we take a look at the bottom of the excerpt now, these extra costs to businesses get passed on to the consumer in the form of higher prices. All right, so again, question 10, which statement about value-added taxes best develops that central idea that it gets passed on to the consumer? They are set at a specific rate is A. Well, that you should be able to eliminate immediately because that's not changing values from place to place, right? If it's a specific rate, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But the fact that they're added onto the cost of items sold is proving that central idea. It's helped developing that. C, they include taxes paid by the manufacturers. Well, this isn't the correct answer either because the manufacturers are the ones that are building the product, right? And so if there's taxes paid by the manufacturers, it shouldn't affect the consumer whatsoever. So again, B is the correct answer. And some of this is just talking through it, finding evidence, right? So I want to model that for you. And then 11, which sentence from the passage develops the idea that prices vary over time as well as from place to place? And you don't even need any kind of backtracking in the text to really support this because there's only one answer that shows both over time and place to place. If you look, A says as more people gain internet access, that's over time. Not everyone would have it, but as they gain it. I know it seems kind of out there to say not everyone has it, but if you think about people that don't have access or ability to it, and different countries and cultures too, but as more people gain that, okay, so that's over time, they're researching item prices in other countries. That is place to place. And that is the only one that provides both. B says people in Germany just think a garden hose is worth more than do people in the US. Well, this does talk about place to place, but not over time. C, the same brand of bottled water you buy at home may cost twice as much in New York City. Again, that's place to place, but not over time. Okay, so for this one, I think the best bet would have been process of elimination, just making sure that your answer lines up with what is in the question.